Hello all. In today's video, we are going to look at what is meant by agile testing, what are the different concepts or the terms related to agile testing, and the basic interview questions which are mostly asked for the agile testing. So first mostly asked question is what is meant by agile testing. So basically, agile testing is nothing but the tester will test the particular application by taking continuous feedback from the customer. In short, agile methodology is a process which will followed by the test engineer or QA is known as a promoting continuous interaction with the development and with the customer. So this testing is also placed in the dynamic environment as requirements where requirements get keeps changing and according to the customer need. So this testing plays throughout the development of whole software. So basically what happens in other types of testing or in other types of approaches or in methodology, the testing happens at the end of development, but here parallelly the agile testing is happen means once at the same time when developer is developing a software, at the same time tester is testing the software. So basically this agile testing is based on the values like it gives the more importance to each and every need of the customer, or it mainly focus on the customer interaction, as well as here the whatever the requirements comes from the customer is taken into consideration while developing and the testing of particular software. So basically this agile testing is simply the testing is done by continuously taking the feedback from customer. Then the next main question is what is the difference between waterfall model and agile testing. So in waterfall model the testing takes place at the end of development, and in agile methodology or in agile testing, here the testing does parallelly to with the development activity. So this is the main difference between waterfall model and agile testing. Then the main important concept related to agile testing is what is meant by burn up chart. So burn up chart is nothing but this chart is used to keep track of process of project, or where it simply represents how much work has been completed in the project is nothing but the burn up chart. And what is meant by burn down chart? So burn down chart is nothing but where it shows how much work is left to do, or how much it shows how much work was left to do over time. So basically the burn down chart represent the remaining work of project. So always keep in mind the burn up chart represents how much work is done, and burn down chart represent how much work is pending. Then the main important next question is what is meant by epic, what is meant by user story, and what is meant by task. So basically the epic is nothing but we can say customer describe the software or feature, right? So the that particular needs or the requirements which are included in product backlog is known as a epic. So basically where the software functionality which are specified by customer is included in the product backlog is known as a epic. And user stories are nothing but the epic is further broken down into user stories. So here in user stories are written from the customer's point of view, like what will be the input, what will be the output, what process we are going to carry out, it included in a user story. And task is nothing but the user stories are further broken down into a task. So here the user stories are means whatever the user story is there, it divided into different tasks is known as a task, or latter user stories are divided into various activities, you can say, is nothing but task. So always remember the epic comes first, after that user story, and after that task. Then the next question is explain what is meant by refactoring. So basically the refactoring is nothing but to improve the performance the existing code is modified, is nothing but the refactoring. So here the main functionality remains same, but for modification of code without changing the functionality. Basically, for the purpose of improving performance is nothing but the refactoring. Then the next main question is what is meant by product backlog. So product backlog is nothing but it maintained by product owner, and it contain every feature and each and every requirement of your software is nothing but a product backlog. And what is meant by sprint backlog? This can be, you can consider as a, it is one part of product backlog which contain the feature and requirement related to particular sprint only. Means if there are 100 of requirement which are specified by customer, then all 100 requirements are included in product backlog. But whatever the requirements you are going to pick in the specific sprint is included in the sprint backlog. Means for this particular sprint, how many requirements I'm going to pick from the product backlog? If there are 100, now I'm going to pick the 5 requirements. So that 5 only included into the sprint backlog. Then the main question is what is the difference between Scrum and Agile? So basically, the Scrum, a sprint is basic development system. Scrum is a, we can say in Scrum a sprint is basic development system. So for following each sprint a planning meeting is held, and during which sprint tasks are recognized, and here team creates a finished portion of product during each sprint. And in Agile what happen, each interaction of Agile involves a team going through an entire software development cycle, and it includes the planning, designing, coding, analysis, then testing is when the product is shown to the stakeholder is included in the Agile. So basically the Agile is a practice and Scrum is a method of implementing. So you can say the Scrum is a way of implementing your Agile methodology. So this is the main difference between Scrum and Agile. Then the main question is what is meant by product roadmap. The product roadmap is nothing but, we can say it's a total view or whatever the product features are there. It creates the vision of your product or software is nothing but a product roadmap. Then the main question is who involves in the Agile team or who are the members of Agile team. So basically the Scrum Master and the development managers are the members of Agile team. So what is the role of Scrum Master? It they coordinates the various inputs and outputs required by the Agile system, and development manager they employ and bring the best peoples to the team. So these are the basic members of Agile team. Then what is mean by Scrum poker? So basically most of the time this question will get asked what is meant by Scrum poker. So Scrum poker is nothing but, we can say, consequences based estimation technique. It is basically one tool, or you can say it's a technique mostly used by the developer for voting on how many story points or story has in Scrum process in a easy and efficient way. Okay, so this is nothing but a Scrum poker is one technique or tool which is generally used by the developer. So the next question is when requirements are get changed continuously. So as a tester, what you are going to do? So if the requirements are continuously changing, it will obviously makes a burden on you as a tester. So what you are going to do? So basically when requirements keeps changing continuously, as a agile tester you can write the generic plan and the test cases which can be further used. Means it may not include the exact match with the details or the requirements, but you are having some idea what requirements will get changed. So according to that, try to write down the generic plan or generic test cases for particular application. Then always understand the scope of change. Means whatever the requirements which are specified by customer, try to understand the scope and on how many modules it is going to be impacted, and according to that try to write down the test cases. Then make sure you have understood each and every requirement clearly, and until the feature or the requirement is finalized, so wait for testing or wait for uh, writing that particular test case. So this is nothing but the steps you have to follow. Then the next main question is, what is mean by sprint velocity? And if team capacity means team members are changing every time, what you are going to do? So sprint capacity is nothing but, or velocity, sprint velocity is nothing but it calculated using professional judgment based on some data which we have. So there is some mathematical formula. So there will be these many story points, and we are having a number of team members. So this particular capacity is expressed in form of percentage. So for example, the story points, we are having a 40 story points or 50 story points, and we are having a 10 members. So according to that, we are going to calculate the velocity of a sprint. So basically, a velocity is nothing but the calculation of planning for particular sprint, means how much task we are having to do and how much team members we are having. So basically, if number of team members or capacity get changed, according to that your formula will get changed, and according to that you have to manage your man hours, or you have to manage the task according to it. Means how many story points you have to finish depending on the team capacity or the team members. Then the next is, what is meant by sprint zero? So sprint zero is nothing but it incorporates to undertake some research before starting the first sprint. Mean generally this sprint is used during the beginning of project activity, such as setting the development platform, planning of it, product backlog, and so forth. So keep in mind, sprint zero is the initial sprint of team which occurs before the formal start of project. So as a part of sprint zero, the team must have the answer of following question like, what will be the duration of sprint, when this sprint is when this sprint is going to be completed, and what tools we are going to use and how we are going to use. So this is nothing but the, we can say, planning is nothing but a sprint zero. So this is generally related with the development team to develop a minimum number of user stories in a minimum, means minimum time you have to develop your number of user stories. Then what is meant by spike? Spike is nothing but, you can say, type of story which can be used for development, design, and prototyping. So you can take spikes in between sprint to work on any technical or design issue. So there are, generally you can say, the spike is nothing but it represents the investigation of particular bug or the issue occurs. So we try to take a quick action on it is nothing but a spike. So ideally this spike can be scheduled along with the all other features like bugs fixes during the sprint. If team is unable to agree on the estimate, it may realize the need of spike. So in short, you can always keep in mind that the spike is the type of story which can be used for the research, development, and design or prototyping of your project. So this is nothing but the sprint zero and the spike concept. Then the main important point is, what is the role of Scrum? So basically, there are mainly three roles that Scrum team will have. So the first role is main product owner, Scrum master, and Scrum team. So product owner is responsible for managing the product backlog, which works with the end user and customer, which to take the requirement from customer and to build a proper product. And Scrum master works with the Scrum team and make sure each sprint is get completed on time, and try to manage the scrum team and try to understand or resolve the problems of scrum team. A scrum team is nothing but the members of the team that should be self organized, and they are responsible for completion of sprint or whatever the task they have assigned. Then the main question is, when should you avoid using agile? So generally, if there are the requirements which are fixed, at that time no need to use the agile. If project time is fixed, then no need to use the agile. So, and if your particular team has understood the requirements very clearly, then also no need to use a agile. Means basically the agile is used when your customer requirements are get fluctuates or change according to the time, then there is a need of using agile. Otherwise you can use the another approaches. Then what is the purpose of tracer bullet, or what is meant by tracer bullet? So generally, the tracer bullet is a spike with current architecture. So it's, we can say it's a best practice or technology set, and all which result in development of code. So it's not just an code, but it could restrict the implementation of functionality. Means with the current architecture, if you have to restrict something or particular functionality of your software, is nothing but the tracer bullet. Then the main important question is, what is meant by test stub? So generally test stub is a small piece of code that included an undeveloped or fully formed component in a system being tested. Basically the test stub is, you can say it's an actual component by producing a specific known result and replacing the actual component, or you can say it is, this code is used to replace a module in software. Means if we want to replace the particular code with another is known as a test stub. So this code is basically a generalized code which you can replace with the already developed code or part of the code. Then what is mean by task board in agile? So basically task board is nothing but a dashboard which shows the progress of your project. So it contain user stories, means which is having the business requirement. Then task list, what task on which you are going to work, in progress, how many tasks are in progress, how many tasks are pending for verification, how much tasks are completed is included in the task board. Then the main question is, what is meant by scrum ban? So basically a scrum ban is nothing but a it is software development model, you can say. So it is a combination of scrum and kanban. So scrum ban, the name itself suggests that it is a combination of scrum and kanban. So it is considered for maintaining the projects when there are frequent change or unexpected user stories are come. So it can reduce the minimum completion time for user stories. So it is specially designed for the project that required the frequent maintenance, is nothing but the scrum ban. You can say it's a combination of scrum and kanban. Then the next question is, name the most important components of agile. What are the important components of agile? So the important question components of agile are TDD, that test driven development, then peer programming, then you can say the class response CRR, CRC, that is class responsibility and collaboration card, then the meetings and deployment. These are the most important components or the points which are related with the agile. Then the main question is, what is meant by TDD, or task test driven development? So test driven development is a technique which we can add a test first before we write a complete production code. So test driven development, TD, is also known as a test driven design. In this method, where the developer first writes a test cases which can describe a new functionality or improve, and then create a small code to pass the test, and then later or for further process refactors a new code to meet particular standard is nothing but a test driven development. Then what is mean by tracer bullet? So tracer bullet is nothing but, you can say, it's a spike. Actually this question is get repeated. So it is, you can say, it's a spike, or it is related with the current architecture of your software. Then what are the roles of scrum master? So basically scrum master understand the requirement, then monitors and tracks the requirement, then reports, create a report of scrum team, then resolves the issues of scrum team. If there is any conflicts, they try to resolve it, and they will take a feedback. Then what are the responsibilities of agile tester? So basically as agile tester, the requirements are to understand the requirement, then to assure the project testing tools, then assure the environmental setup, then understand all the tools or techniques you are going to use, then identify the defect, try to solve the defect, take a good knowledge is nothing but the some responsibilities of agile tester. What are the different tools basically used in agile projects? So generally there are different tools available in the market like user snap, bug shooting, qtrace, but mostly in most of the organizations snagit is a tool which is useful for taking a screenshots. Then the next question is, what does mean by pair programming? Pair programming is means what? So pair programming is basically a technique where two programmers work as a team. So on same code, both the programmers are working. So it can be easily to here one programmer is assign work developing a code and another is reviewing. So what is the benefit of pair programming? Easily they can transfer the knowledge, and it can also useful for improving the code quality because both are having the knowledge of same requirements and they are combinedly going to develop the code for same. Then the next is, what is meant by daily stand-up meetings, or what is the purpose of daily stand-up meeting in the agile? So generally, the daily stand-up meeting is taken to discuss what task is completed, what is pending, and if you are facing any issue or what is your today's task is get discussed into the daily stand-up meeting. So generally this meeting is held at the beginning of day. Then what is meant by sprint retrospective meeting? So this retrospective meeting held at the end of your sprint. So here they generally discuss what went well and what went wrong. So what we have to improve in the next sprint is discussed in the retrospective. So what is meant by build breaker? So here, generally what happens, the developer might accidentally execute a bug during development of software. So such kinds of bug generates the warning, right? And it may lead to failure of normal execution, and it may hamper the your progress of software. So this problem or conflict is referred as a broken build or build breaker. So next question is, what are the types of tests should be done during the sprint? Generally during the sprint the different types of testing is done, like unit testing, which is always done by the developer, then the system integration testing, agile acceptance testing are the different types of testing which are held during the sprint. Then, what is mean by application binary interface? So, application binary interface (ABI) is generally, you can say, is known as an interface for compiled application program. So, you can say when it described as a low level interface between different application and operating system. Means if you have developed one application and there is operating system, so to interact between it or transfer the module or to get a data from it, the interface is developed is known as an application binary interface. Then the last question is, what are the qualities of good tester? So as a good agile tester, you must have an ability to understand the requirements very clearly. Then you must know the principles of Agile, all the terms and the concepts related to Agile. And based on the Agile, as a Agile tester, you must be able to assign the priority to each and every task. Which task is important, which may involve the risk. You must be able to identify it, and you must be a quick learner. These are the some qualities of Agile tester. So thank you all. Do subscribe to our channel. Please do comment, like and share. Thank you.